Hello, and welcome to part 2 of this challenge. I know I already technically failed this challenge, but you've seen challenges before. You know YouTubers continue regardless if they succeed or fail. With that short intro out the way, let's continue the second part of Can You Beat Resident Evil 4 only using weapons from Resident Evil 2. This is where we get the saving grace of this whole castle section. This pond, or the nickname I just came up with 2 seconds ago, the Pond of Heaven. Every chapter, new fish will spawn here, so as long as we go back here every chapter, we'll have an infinite healing source. Going to the merchant, he must have known how bad the water hall was, as this is where he finally puts up for sale the Matilda. This actually makes the challenge possible now, because I don't have to solely rely on shotgun ammo to progress. If you are also wondering, yes, this gun appears in Resident Evil 2, and I have been doing requests throughout the entire challenge, saving up for this exact moment as the Matilda can only be bought with spinels. With that, before we can go further, we need to kill this red zealot to get its lamp that it has. After I do so, I get out of the room as fast as possible as Plaga enemies have spawned. Using the lamp, we move on to reunite with Ada, do this puzzle, and get introduced to a new spider Plaga enemy. They weren't insanely difficult to deal with during this challenge, but it's still important to bring them up. I make a quick stop at the merchant and continue on. I did this annoying part, but it wasn't insanely difficult until I reached the armored Gigante. The Gigante didn't make this part hard, the bolt thrower enemies did. But since I had a gun I was able to use from medium to far range, I was actually able to deal with them. I keep moving forward, miss the easiest parry of my life,
Gentlemen,
and use the cannon to deal with the Gigante. You can call this cheating, but this run was already over since the Del Lago fight. The rest of Chapter 8 is pretty straightforward. Literally, you just run to reach this room and find Ashley. By the way, I know she still has the armor, but this is because I had taken a break after the water hall incident and forgot to take it off. No diddy. Hello, I kind of want to just jump in here at this part of the video, and the reason why I said no diddy here, even though that would say that meme is pretty much dead, is because this video is about 6 months in progress. The reason why it's taken so long for this video to get out is because of school, but I am on winter break now. As you can see, this video is being uploaded in December, so I actually have time to do stuff because I'm unemployed. So yeah, I just kind of want to explain why I kind of said a dead meme. But yeah, back to the video. She will be in her regular clothing next chapter. After Luis calls us, we move to the dog maze, which was actually pretty easy because I had a gun I could waste ammo for. Besides a couple close calls, I go to the Pond of Heaven to get more fish and enter the main hall of the castle. This part was super easy. The serpent head was just a small puzzle, the lion head is pretty easy with having a handgun now, and the goat head caused me a little trouble, but I won. A little before this, I got a heavy grenade. So I know I'm not allowed to use normal grenades, but looking closely at the grenade model in Resident Evil 2, it's the exact same model as heavy grenades. So this means I am allowed to use heavy grenades, but not normal grenades. After that, that's pretty much the end of this chapter for Leon. Ashley's part does not affect the challenge in any way because she can't use guns. So chapter 10 we go. After Ashley gets kidnapped for the 4,000th time, there's a small part of the game where we are allowed to explore and get more resources before continuing on. During this part, I went to go kill the Golden Knight, saw some stuff I didn't need, and returned to the Pond of Heaven to get more fish. After doing all this, I continue on to the Grand Hall. This part, again, was very straightforward. It caused me a little more trouble than previous parts I had with the handgun, but other than that, it was easy. The part that caused me the second most trouble during this chapter was the double Garrador room. It wasn't really the Garradors that caused me trouble, it was the enemies that were constantly spawning into the room. After dying to
gentlemen,
I optimized my previous run and I did in the Grand Hall and played the double Garrador room much better.
Perfect.
After getting the golden horns, I see Salazar having Ashley perform freaky activities. I get thrown down into this pit and reach the Verdugo boss fight. Oddly enough, I felt some surge of confidence that I could kill Verdugo. I wasn't sure why, but I felt like I could do it. It was mainly because of my heavy grenades, and one time during a previous run, I was able to kill him with the heavy grenade when I froze him with the liquid nitrogen around the area. After turning on the power for the elevator, I had to fight Verdugo. The beginning of this fight wasn't that hard, but after I used all the liquid nitrogen things, I immediately got cooked. It also didn't help that I think when I threw my second heavy grenade, it didn't register any damage to him. And with no backup plan, I just had to stall until the elevator arrived. After the elevator arrived, I got out, but with hardly any resources. And with that, we move on to Chapter 11. The beginning of this chapter was pretty hard, but nothing crazy. Like I said earlier, using the not I'd win mentality did not pay off with Verdugo, as I had very little resources. First, I had to get the dynamite to blow up these rocks to continue when it was surrounded by enemies. I ended up just raw dogging it, which was going well until I reached the dynamite room. After grabbing it, I planned to just run out the room, but I ended up getting hit by this Plaga enemy, so now I was trapped in this room with two chainsaw enemies running in. I would have been cooked here, but thankfully, in this chapter, the merchant puts the Matilda stock up for sale. Putting the stock on the Matilda gives it a 3-round burst, or to put it simply, you can shoot 3 shots off at once. This was able to stun Dr. Salvador so I could kick him and run out the room, escaping. Using the dynamite to open the path, me and Luis carry on into the double Gigante fight. I was at first going to kill them to get the treasures they dropped, but after the Verdugo fight, I planned to just use the lava pits to do so. After using a quite substantial amount of ammo on a regular Gigante, I waited for Luis to get the dynamite for the armored one, shot it when he brought it, and dropped it into the hatch. After fighting the Gigantes, we have the minecart section, which is where I'd say I officially lost the challenge. Sure, Del Lago counts, but it was just harpoons. It's not really a big deal. And with the cannons, yeah, I have no real excuse for that. However, here I am forced to use the Red 9, and as you probably know, that weapon does not appear in Resident Evil 2. So with that, it is not possible to beat Resident Evil 4 with only using weapons from Resident Evil 2. However, making it this far already, I continued to see if any other boss fights in any other parts of the game were possible. After the minecart section, the Novistador Hive was pretty easy, and the Krauser fight with the fully upgraded knife was easy. Chapter 12 we go. A quick disclaimer for the rest of this video, from chapter 12 onward, I am very brief on the details I give. It's not because I'm being lazy, it's just at this point in the challenge, I'm basically playing an average playthrough of Resident Evil 4. I have a handgun, shotgun, grenades, the stuff you would see on an average playthrough of the game. Being at this point of the game, there really isn't much to talk about. So if you notice me talking about one part and randomly skipping to a boss fight within that chapter, it's just because I was playing the game and nothing really important happened between those 2 points. Sorry to intrude here, back to the rest of the challenge. The beginning of this chapter was just me collecting as much treasure as I possibly could and doing all requests possible as well. Once I got everything I could and was worth getting, I continued on to the clock tower. Climbing the clock tower was pretty simple, not providing that much of a challenge. Using the elevator to go up was pretty suspenseful as I wanted to save as much ammo as possible for the upcoming boss fight. Reaching the top of the clock tower, I visit the merchant and max out the Matilda and W870 with the upgrades besides the exclusive one. After doing some more stuff with the merchant, I continued on to the Salazar fight, which just to save time, it was super easy. The stock for the Matilda just made it easier to spray down Salazar when he wasn't moving, and while he was stunned, I just used the gold egg and shotgun to finish him off. I know using the gold egg might sound like cheating, but I put it under the OK glitches rule. Plus, I was cooking him. I'm sure he's glad I used the egg to put him out of his misery. In reality, I just wanted this challenge to end. After Salazar, we chase after Krauser and move on to Chapter 13 and the last section of Resident Evil 4, the island. The beginning of Chapter 13 was pretty easy. I stealthed around to prevent the pig brood from spawning, but eventually I was caught. Thankfully, I was right where I needed to be to move this turret, looped around, and ran for my life.
Bro thinks he's in DBD.
After that, it was more running until I reached the regenerators. These enemies are pretty easy to kill with the knife, and with the exclusive upgrade on the combat knife to increase my attack speed, I thought it would be easy to kill them. That was not the case, as I ended up using a little too much healing items, and by a little, I meant all but 2 in the end. Besides that, I had gotten the last usable weapon in this run, which is the LE5. This is an unlockable weapon in Resident Evil 2, which provides infinite ammo for the LE5. Wish this meant I can use the cat ears, but I digress. After obtaining the level 3 keycard, I reached Ashley and ended chapter 13. Before I start talking about chapter 14, as I am editing this, I realize it would be tedious to have a section of the video be about chapter 14 and 15 respectively, so to save your time and my editing sanity, I'm going to combine these 2 chapters into one section. They will be paced the exact same, but when I start talking about chapter 15, there won't be a transition into it. Back to the video. I find chapter 14 obnoxious because it's poorly paced in my opinion, but I, again, digress. The first half of this chapter isn't too hard. I have Ashley back again, but with a much better kit since chapter 9, the Ashley problem I had is almost non-existent anymore. Moving past the facility and onto the crane part, I used 2 heavy grenades to skip this part. Watch Ashley get kidnapped for who knows how many times at this point, and move to the Krauser fight. The Krauser fight isn't insanely hard with the loadout I have now, but I did take a little too much damage, but overall, Krauser is easy. I found just spamming your shotgun at him in his final phase kills him pretty easily. With hit dead, we move on to chapter 15, the home stretch. Chapter 15 has 2 parts all separated into, the first being with Mike. This part proved to be difficult, but with another part and the final boss fight up ahead, I couldn't waste my resources here. I learned that the hard way. After a couple of tries, I was able to get past this part, but watch the goat Mike die for it. After his death, I continue on to the final challenge of chapter 15. Thankfully, after my handgun only achievement run, I memorized this part down to the last pixel, so I was able to do it pretty easily. Making it to Ashley, I save her with Ada's help, do this long hallucination scene, make it to Luis's lab, and get rid of the parasite that is in Ashley before passing out due to the struggle of this challenge. The final challenge awaits, the Lord Sadler boss fight. After gathering everything I could, I make one last stop at the merchant and start the fight.
My money give up, my money talk. Long niggas, I really don't want you. My money been talking, my money do best. Hey, shut up. I already heard you, I don't wanna answer. You ain't everything cause you can't see. Yeah, I'm on the top when we win. No, you let that guy get on here. Yeah, I wanna be like right at the lines that you can't wait to see. I don't wanna hear none of this shit you say. You play but your titty can chin. Man, I'm rocking the ladies that's under the police. I purpose and chin to the skin. Copy the way that I told them they can't even suck away on me. Yeah, steady been copying my son and sometimes they appear if I'm being honest. Yeah, I know why you been copying about your whole life. How do you rap about a whole life? How you stay written badly, then drugs you ain't never tried was a whole life.
Round 2, fight!
Keep frying in that grease bomb, give me 5 fries. I just put up in the belly, they got a front house. They tryna bite the sweat, but they get too my nerds. Every time she send me up, it's 160 licks. Can't even count the songs I made, and I'm up, there's 160 licks. There's 80 deep on the wall, I Ice unsteady with it. They say he had pockets swollen. You gotta show me the shit. Gotta take how to do this shit. I got the devil off my phone. He told me keep doing this shit. Devil told me gotta get rid of it. How many bands? Six in a minivan, couple of big speed. You better ride me like she on the wheel speed. They say what's that brother? Yo, just out to the next step.
The montage was a little unnecessary, but I felt right for the final boss of this challenge. After that, it's just escape the island on the jet ski, and of course I didn't die. Who would? Okay, I may have died once on the jet ski part, but I saved right before it, so pretend that didn't happen. Oh, me and Ashley escaped, hooray, and end this video. Yeah, so at the end of this challenge, I got a B rating, but honestly, I don't care. The challenge is over. So, it is in fact not possible to beat Resident Evil 4 with weapons from Resident Evil 2, due to the Del Lago boss fight, the water hall, the 2 cannon sections, the minecart section, and using the rocket launcher to kill Sadler in the final boss. So if you exclude those, then the challenge is possible, but if not, it isn't. Though I struggled a lot during this challenge, and I mean a lot, I had quite a lot of fun making this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. I plan to do more with this challenge and already have another challenge similar to this coming up. So having support come from this video really helps. With that, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or night.